Hey guys, we are the Doctors Who podcast, and today we are covering Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson, Part 6, Words in Steel.
Good memory.
Guys, we have come to the end of this book. This is the final section and epilogue. This is the Sanderlanche. This is the ultimate of Book 2 of the trilogy. What are we going to cover? I mean, there's so much going on. We've got, the city is now kind of in shambles, but now it's the meeting of the minds, and what's going to happen with the well? We still haven't really seen the well. What is the spirit that keeps floating around in the mists? What do the mists even mean? So many questions. All of this and more coming right up.
Hello, we are the Doctors Who podcast. My name is Chris.
My name is Chip.
My name is Brian.
And as Brian indicated, we are at the end of the book. The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson has reached its conclusion, and we're here to talk about it. Chip, tell us what you got.
This one, I feel like the Sanderlanche happened in Part 5, and I feel like this was almost like, I know that there is an epilogue, but I feel like Part 6 was kind of like an epilogue, or maybe like the first couple chapters of the next book, the way it reads, because it just is like everything kind of ended. Now we're going to go figure out what the Well of Ascension is. Mm-hmm. So we've got this whole book that we went through. We kind of heard some clues about the Well of Ascension. Now we're finally going to go get to see what it is. And it's, I had fun with this. Again, Sazed's still my favorite part of it. Mm-hmm. Just the way he battles Marsh, and some of the things that happens with him. But it just feels like it's all set up for what's to come next. So you got Sazed and Marsh. So we don't know what happened to Marsh or why Marsh turned. And we don't know, I think we touched on it in the last episode, where we talked about the terrorist people that Aland and Spook found, and they'd been attacked by Inquisitors. Now we know Marsh is an Inquisitor, and he's attacking Sazed, and I guess I'm not sure what's up with that, but hopefully we'll find out in the next book what's going on there. And then, the Eland story was kind of interesting. Part of me was hoping that he would die at the end, because it seems like nobody critical really has died. I guess he had a few people that were killed, but I think it would have really changed Vin's story arc had he been dead, and Kelsier's dead, and Eland's dead, and going to the next book. But she'd be a pretty loose cannon.
I think after this book, though, I think Aland might be my favorite character.
Well,
like his character arc in this book,
it was pretty good.
The way they handled it, and then now all of a sudden he's a Alamancer too.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. So now he's an equal, maybe not an equal in skill, but power-wise, I would assume that he's close to Vin. So it just makes me intrigued on where it's going to go from here.
Agreed. I think there were definitely some good moments in here. I really like the you were talking about Marsh, and I really feel like there's a lot that's left to be answered with who is controlling the Inquisitors and who is controlling Marsh, because it feels like he's slipping into the abyss of wherever the other Inquisitors have fallen. He didn't really seem like he was fully in control, but in control enough to have a conversation, at least minimally, with Sazed.
And he appeared to be like remorseful as he was beating the crap out of him. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, I feel like one really interesting thing with that was the Lord Ruler was a Feruchemist, right? And so he had those rings, and they were embedded within him, and that's how he drew it and stored his power. Well, and Sazed now has the exact same thing within him. I thought that was a really cool tie-in with how the first book ended with the death of someone with that power, and now we get to see kind of the rise of someone with that power. Part of me wondered if Sazed could, within himself, have the ability to be the hero of ages. We keep looking at Vin, but it's possible it could actually be Sazed. But
no, Sanderson would never misdirect us like that.
I also like the origin possibilities. The ability to explain where these powers came from within this world. This well has been clearly bubbling up for this entire book. So I'm sure it's happened before, and that probably was the advent of so many of these other Alamancers and these other lines of Mistborn. So I thought from a holistic perspective, it was a really interesting ending. I will say I was maybe a little underwhelmed with I was hoping for more answers at the end of this book. We hit the end, and I thought, this can't be the end. Like, I know that there's another book, but it felt like we should have had, if we had
some closure.
If we had 20 questions going into that final, like, section in part 6, we answered maybe one of them,
And
maybe
added 10 more.
and added new
But if you
ones.
think of like The Empire Strikes Back or The Two Towers, it's the middle part of a trilogy.
It is.
So
it is. And I have to
definitely,
cut
there's
The heroes suffer a defeat, and the third act is where they reign triumphant, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that's
Yeah.
the case here. I thought all in all it was a good section. Just a little disappointing that I wish there were more.
First of all, we've been saying this since Marsh became an Inquisitor that this was eventually going to happen. That being said, even knowing that it was coming, I was still like, "Oh, what are you doing, Marsh?"
Right?
Even if he was like, I can't stop myself from doing this. I don't want to do this, but I'm doing it anyway. Still, it was just like, oh. I like how, Eland's arc continues to evolve because he gets back and Vin's like, I did this thing. I made you emperor. I'm sorry. I know that that isn't what you wanted. And he's like, no, it's probably for the best. It's fine. So like, he has come a long way in this book, and following Vin down to the well and like approaching the mist spirit. And this is what I said in the last episode. It appears that there are like at least two of them, or like two factions of them. One who is malicious and one who is not, because one, pointed Sazed toward Credit Shaw. Allegedly the same one that pointed Aeland toward the terrace encampment when he was getting back to Luthadel. And then you got the other one that appears to be malicious, was about ready to attack Aeland in his tent, and then attacked him down at the well when he was like, oh, no, we chatted earlier, we're good. He's my buddy. And then he gets basically disemboweled. The Marsh-Sazed fight was, well, as much as it pissed me off, the ending was pretty satisfying because new and interesting things are in store for Sazed, which is going to be a lot of fun to explore in the next book. So, yeah, it ended on a cliffhanger, but I think that was probably the intent. Well, I know it was the intent because I don't think Brandon Sanderson does anything that isn't planned in his books.
No,
I would agree.
So when Vin absorbs the power of the well, and she hears this voice saying that the deepness is the killing mists, and that you have to, if you try to kill it, it's gonna, the world will be ruined. So she lets the power go. Is the whatever's in the well tricking her into saying, are the mists really the deepness, or is it something else? And he's
sure.
This
Could
whatever
be
this
another
thing
misdirect,
is using it as a means to escape. And what did escape?
But we do know that the
Right.
mists did continue, and we know that the mists continued killing some people, only injuring some and leaving others alone. So there's still something that's going on with the mists that has not changed from the beginning of this book.
True.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say there's a possibility that the well was saying the truth. Now, there are degrees of truth, and I still feel like there is some deception going on here. Like, we don't know who this disembodied voice is. We don't know, like, I was led to believe as I was reading it that it was the Lord Ruler returning, and I don't know if that's the case, or maybe it's in a more ancient being than him.
And my assumption was it was who the Lord Ruler was trying to keep at bay. Don't know if that's true or not. Obviously, I don't think we know unless we dive into that third book.
But I thought they kind of hinted at that the well would like build in power, and the Lord Ruler would do something to diffuse it, and then it would build back up. And, now it's building back up, and there is no Lord Ruler. So what's going to happen?
Sure.
Next.
Yeah. Because over the course of this book, it did amplify as far as like Vin being able to
because
sense
she
it.
was like,
Yeah.
it was like pulsing in her head or something, and she could feel it.
I want to kind of touch on the epilogue because I feel like that is
Yeah.
interesting and pertinent to what we thought we knew and what we know going forward. So,
Sure.
Sazed returns to the Conventicle of Saran, which I believe is a terrace place, stronghold.
Sounds like
I
it,
don't
yeah.
know what, but he's reading some things there, and there's some differences between what he saw here and what he saw on the carving in the Inquisitor stronghold at the beginning of the book, right? And so basically, whoever's inscribing this has basically said that he believed Alendi would be the hero of ages, but then he changed his mind. And he asked Rashek, who became the Lord Ruler, right? You know, to try to lead Alendi astray so he wouldn't reach the well. And it says, if Rashek fails to lead the Trek astray, then I have instructed the lad to kill Alendi. It is a distant hope. Alendi has survived assassins, wars, and catastrophes, and yet I hope that in the frozen mountains of Terrace he may finally be exposed. I hope for a miracle. Alendi must not reach the Well of Ascension, for he must not be allowed to release the thing that is imprisoned there. Which Vin did. So, basically, we know that, you know, that was that Rashek killing Alendi was a plan. It wasn't just that jealous outpouring of emotion, you know, at an inopportune time. It wasn't preventing the end of things. It was preserving the way things should have been, and whether the Lord Ruler was doing as he was supposed to do, becoming the Lord Ruler and imposing his law over the land and keeping the well under control, I don't know. I don't think we know yet until we start reading, but it has some interesting implications for everything we thought we knew and what we can look forward to going into the next book. So,
I agree.
overall, I really liked it though. It was a good read. It was fun. It didn't. How do I want to say this? So, I'm currently almost all the way through book 8 of The Wheel of Time. And
Wow.
while Robert Jordan is a fantastic world builder, and just like everything that he writes about, you feel it could actually exist. There's that much detail and nuance and, you know, flavor to what he writes about. Like, I feel like the way he writes characters and their interactions and their feelings and what they're going through, I feel like that falls a little bit flat. I feel like Sanderson really gets that aspect of things. He doesn't world build like Robert Jordan does, but I think that's okay. Because I want to be careful how I say this, because I don't want to like denigrate The Wheel of Time or what Robert Jordan did, but I feel like what Sanderson does with his words and how he presents characters, you know, he doesn't go into the world building depth, but the characters are more believably real. Like you could see people actually behaving the way they do, whereas you look at like Nenave or, you know, Elaine, or, you know, even like Rand, the way he behaves sometimes, and you're just like, oh, come on, dude, seriously? Fuck, stop it. But you don't get that with Sanderson.
No.
So, and that's why I feel like, you know, going someplace completely different, I feel like him coming in and finishing what Robert Jordan started was kind of like the best of both worlds, because you kind of
at the end of the series,
merged those two wonderful qualities together. Anyway.
I'd also argue that you probably need a little less world building and more personal character development and finality. Now, whether he pulled it off or not, we could maybe handle in a different.
Well, and Jordan definitely had character development in his characters, but they're just nuances that are annoying to read.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, it's like you gotta have the world building, but you have to have a character to engage with to be, live and have fun in that world.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Anyway, Thoroughly enjoyed this book. Interested definitely to jump into the next one.
Yep.
We haven't decided what our next project is after this, but we hope you'll join us because we will be discussing what that looks like. Won't we?
We better.
Okay.
I hope so.
Just checking. I went out on a limb there and I was afraid you weren't going to support me.
It's okay.
It's okay, Chris.
It's allergies.
Someone cutting onions over there.
Yeah.
All right. We hope you enjoyed this video. We hope you have followed along for the series as we've kind of discussed this entire book. We've enjoyed it as well, so we hope you will continue to join us as we move forward. Please consider hitting the subscribe button, hit that bell notification so that when we post new content you get notified. Also, sound off in the comments section. We'd love to have that engagement and that conversation, so we invite you to use it.
Until next time, Alonzi.